Oh well.
Fine, 6 feet.
Fucking hell!
Oh no, you're like complaining.
Just to get you.
Smack you with my wing the entire stream.
Ha, I don't even see the wing, so that's fine. Okay. So, where to start? Which one do you guys want to start off with?
I don't really care either way.
Guess we can start with Max.
Okay. We'll start with Max. So, it feels weird. I'm talking to no one. There's literally fucking no one here. Anyway. Oh, okay. So, Gavin, do you know the importance of mags?
Magatamas? What are those?
Oh, magatamas, they're only the most important thing in the game. People are like, no, not just weapons. Weapons will get you so far, but no, nothing compared to mags.
Please tell me.
Oh, I just got that picture in my mind. It's like, oh, I thought you were PogChamp, but no, you're just cringe.
We're both cringe right now.
Just looking over there in detestment.
Okay, so yeah, mags and honors. Right. I don't know where to start. Good mags. Event mags. Get the event mags. Nah. Obviously, magatamas will depend on your class. So, Rarette 2 will be for Axe, Skyrending for Sword, Wicked Wolf for Odachi. Then there's Crucifix for Staff, Attack Staff for Bow, Talonbreaker for Wand, Dancing Water for Twin, Thunderquake for Spear. Am I missing any? I don't think so. I think I hit them all. And the first magatama that I'd say really puts you on the right path is the 105 mag. Because until then, you're just using whatever mags you can put on that will slightly increase your strength. And the 105 mag is the first step in the right direction, in my opinion. Obviously... well, we'll get to that. You're jumping the gun. Anyway. So... The 105 mags, alright, you want to know where it is. 105 mag recipes can be acquired throughout the islands and Oshu Highway and such. Including Mountain of Thorns in Onigashima, even though it's nowhere near connected to islands. But you can still get 105 recipes there. It feels weird that I'm the only one talking.
You're not.
Yeah, so whatever. But the 105 recipes, yeah, okay. So whenever I normally ask people, oh, do you have the 105 recipe for such and such? Let's say Skyrending. They'll say yes, and then they'll go and talk to Kaguya, and then they'll find the one that requires Zenith medals. You don't want to make the Zenith medal one. Zenith medals are way more useful for the higher level mags. Even getting the Tempest recipe that you need, I know that will take a lot of grinding because it's like 9,000 Zenith medals, and you only get like between 5 and 20 Zenith medals per Oni run, and you can only do like 3 Oni runs a day of each specific dungeon. But personally, I wouldn't recommend using Zenith medals, or Zenith medals, as I've heard other people call them. I wouldn't recommend using them to get 105 mags unless you're absolutely desperate, because the recipes that drop from islands are way easier to make. They're less time consuming. You might need drop boosts, whereas with the Zenith medals you don't need drop boosts because Zenith medals are a clear reward. So you will need drop boost, for example, with the Skyrending, which is the one I know the most about because I'm a sword user. Skyrending, you'll need a drop boost to get the Ronin mag, which most of the harder mags to get for 105s, like quote-unquote harder mags to get, are like they drop from Kusatsu, so hot springs. Go to Kusatsu, then go to Nakasendo, and then they'll either drop in Azami Crossing or War Bazooka. And you might need to check the wiki to find out what level you need to run, depending on how many people you have in a party. For example, I know that if you have 5 people in a party, then the Ronin mag itself won't drop in Hell War Bazooka. You'll have to run that on hard. It's very easy to get the 105s. It's a little time consuming, but nowhere near as much to comparing to the alternative, which is running Zenith medals. Unfortunately, I don't have a 105 to show you, so I can't show you what they do without going to Kaguya.
What'd you do to the 105 I gave you?
Oh, I sold that. Don't worry, I'll make you another one. And oh yeah, I also sold the fuse that you gave me as well, but I'll make you another one of them as well.
Good over there?
But so the 105s is the first of 3 Magatamas. So there's the 105s, then there's the fuse, which require your character to be 117, and then there's the Tempest, like the one you see in front of you on my screen, which requires you to be level 128. But there are in-between mags, so in between getting 105 and fused, you have a possibility right now to get the event mags, which I'll put them on. Oh, okay, one sec. So, where's Portaria?
Just like that, my Tempest has been taken away from me.
What?
Just like that, I just lost my chance at the Tempest.
Okay. Oh yeah, you need the attack star 105, don't you, to make your Tempest? Because you need to make the attack star fused.
Yeah.
So, as Wheat has ever so kindly just lost his 105 to demonstrate, this is what a 105 will do. Rank 5 plus, well, this is the bow one. Rank 5 plus bow skill force at a rate of 60%, so you'll get 60% more bow skill force. Obviously, if you have Wicked Wolf, it'll give you 6% more Adachi skill force, Rare 2 Axe skill force, so on and so forth. If on remaining 50% HP, it'll rank 4 plus bow skill force plus 40%. Again, same as the first one, that will depend on what mag you have. Rain plus 10, lightning minus 5, crit force plus 10. So, if you talk to a lot of high level players, they'll say that certain weapons have their main element. Odachi's main element is wind, bows is rain, wand is dark, staff is holy, sword is fire, axe is mountain, spear is lightning. You get the idea. That's because of the specialized mag, so the 105s, the Fuse, the Tempest, they each increase their own mag, their own element. And it's fairly straightforward, but at the 117 version it'll give you a second element that it buffs and a second element that it decreases. I'm not entirely sure what that is for bows. I don't know what the second element buff, I think it might be ice. But
for a bow it's mountain.
Oh, bow's mountain?
Main element's rain, second element's mountain.
So yeah, so the Fuse will increase rain and mountain, and will decrease fire and lightning. I'm guessing because it's rain and mountain, fire and lightning would make sense.
Actually, I got a Tempest on me, so. Negative elements for a attack star Tempest is negative lightning and negative wind.
Wind?
Because of the mountain.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay. That's kind of weird, but okay.
My attack star back.
Oh, yeah. Sure. I was like, I'm about to go dismantle the Sekage and see what I get.
But,
Just lost OC because of it.
sorry?
I lost OC too.
Basically, you just gave Cyberstep OC, both of you. Congratulations.
I know.
Yeah.
What are you saying? Oh, just the attack star. So, as the mag timers increase, they'll give you bonus elements. They'll take away slightly more of each element. How did you glitch your game?
Collect items, install. How about no?
Oof. I guess that's another thing I'll touch on quickly, is when you DC in a loading screen and you're in a party, do not close your app straight away, because that will kick everyone in your party out of the game. And if you're running an energy dungeon, so a warding, like, everyone in your party will lose their energy. So that just a quick warning about that.
If you don't want to become the least favorite person in the room, don't do stupid shit like that.
Yeah, that would be good.
But I guess if I can be heard on your stream or not, I don't know. So I guess I'll take control of the mic for so you can, I guess, formulate your next topic of discussion. Okay, so this wasn't something that was down on our notes to cover, but I feel like it should be covered, and that is good sportsmanship. I mainly touch on it on my channel, so I guess I'll touch on it on this one too. And that is that Onigiri is just a game, and it can be a pretty fun one at that. But it's similar to how Lyra said, it's because of the friends that you make along the way that make this game tolerable and fun. But that's completely subjective, I guess. Anyways, so be a good sport about everything. Like, you know, as I said, always make sure that you Don't close out of a party right away if you do get the infinite loading glitch or some sort of like loading screen glitch or whatever glitch you may have. Close out of the app right away, because that may screw everybody else out of the activities that they're currently doing, even if you're not going into the same dungeon. So, that being said, don't be an elitist. If you happen to have money to spend on this game, don't think that you're automatically a good player simply because you have a Vanguard that's happening to do good in the current dungeons that are out right now. Because it could come later on that character gets a hidden nerf, like Miyamoto Musashi did with the horse dungeons. Don't foresee Cyberstep doing anything like that. Just know that they got a history of doing it. So the way they nerf Vanguards now is by, making sure that the next boss they come out with will be a direct counter to the last Vanguard that came out. In some instances, not all, they've done it. So, if you're asking me, in my opinion, since this is an Onigiri guide for dummies, should you invest all your money into this game? No. Should you do it in a sense of budgeting? If you really care about this PS2 graphic style game, then yeah, sure. But I personally wouldn't recommend more than $100 at a time. If you want to spend any more than that, your poor-ass decision-making skills are all up to you. Nope, I will call you a dumbass for it, because you won't get anything good out of it. Even if you do get 5 scrolls of the newest Vanguard, that will not make you the most popular kid on the block, and ain't nobody gonna give a shit. That's just being honest.
And as was talked about earlier, making friends along the way, it is nice to make friends along the way and not enemies. You make one enemy in this game, the word tends to get spread around very quickly.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will start not liking you for the way that you act. So, once again, to the sportsmanship category, don't be a dick. Just be nice, play the game, help some people out nearby or your level.
Yeah. Being nice is like one of the core structures as to what will help this game survive. If any of the people watching this video even care about, surviving or not, it's up to you. And I don't give shit less if the game lives or dies, because I have put in far too many hours. That Elvira's gone for the foreseeable future, so as one of the OGs is gone, I don't give a shit whether or not this game survives. But, my cold-heartedness towards this game aside, I understand that for everybody, this may be their cup of tea, maybe their escape from reality. So, just don't be a dick if this is your escape. And another word to the wise, don't be cringy either. Anyway.
No, it's not an attack at anyone in particular. It's just that a while ago, like 2018, there was a lot of people that wanted to roleplay in this game. And I got nothing against roleplay, personally, but don't do it in, like, public chat. If you want to roleplay, make a party, and then roleplay in party chat, or if you're doing a one-on-one roleplay, do it in Whisper. Just don't flood the chat with roleplay, because not everyone's into it. Some people might find it weird, and some people in this game aren't nice. They will absolutely rip you to shreds. They'll rip you to shreds, they'll spread the word, a bunch of people will be on your back because you like to roleplay, and that, I don't think anyone deserves to have that happen, but it's just to avoid it happening, just keep it private, do it in party or Whisper, or you can even make a chat group. Like, we have chat groups in Onigiri, you'll see now, because I've pressed the pause button. There are 3 chat groups, these pink bars above the a chat box in the bottom left. So for me, there are 3. There's Tachi, Heya, and Oni SS. And Oni SS is actually the guild that Vlex and I created with one other person who no longer plays, sadly. And we these are great because you can have up to 30 people in them. Like, you can invite people, and you can do pretty much what you want with them. Obviously, there's a lot of censorship in terms of typing in this game, so don't go around saying anything that will just get censored. But actually, a funny example for something to censor is if you want to see something get censored funny, if you type in dildo, it gets changed to Bilbo. That's the funniest censorship I've seen in any game, because it's simple, but at the same time, you see anyone type in chat Bilbo, you know exactly what they were trying to type.
Wasn't there something that you could type where it, like, if you see Cyberstep is like dumb or something, you switch it up to Cyberstep is my favorite company?
Oh, there are 2. There are 2 forms of that. There's one where you type C and then you put a $sign, and then it will come up with CS, my favorite company. Or you can type in CyberJew and it'll come up with Cyberstep, my favorite company.
What? No way. This can't be a thing. What the?
So
They're censoring.
Cyberstep, the company does have a sense of humor, but if you like, just the players, they can have a sense of humor, but a lot of them don't, and a lot of players' sense of humor is quite dry. It's not something that you really want to like take a chance of. You don't want to test it.
Yeah, because a lot of the Onigiri high levels around here, being somebody who has been a part of that community for a little bit, most of them suck ass dick.
Like
they're stupid. They don't even have a sense of humor, man. Their sense of humor is not fucking existent. Sensitive ass motherfuckers getting all balled up over one thing being said. So, if you see a high level, and they're, you know, not nice even to begin with, don't fuck with them. Just leave them alone.
Yeah.
Let them believe in their own little reality that they're actually worth something in this game, because chances are, outside of this game, they're probably ain't worth the shit. So, come in knowing that Onigiri is basically like, what's that one? What's that one game? One game where you like that one virtual reality game. Can't think of its name, where you run around with those little avatars.
VR chat.
Yeah, VR chat. Come in knowing that this is like VR chat, but with big damage numbers and simulated dungeon rooms, and you pretty much got Onigiri down to a T.
Yeah, it's basically a chat room with a side quest of doing damage. That's Onigiri in a nutshell.
And note that if anyone is being a dick to you, there's nothing stopping you from just not saying anything and blocking them or walking away. Do not instigate a fight in chat, or someone else is going to end up joining in. It's going to stew spread.
If someone is being not very nice to you, you can click on one of the names in chat. For this instance, I'll click on Wheatfin's son, and you can click on add to blacklist, and then you'll have an OK, and that'll basically mean that anything they type you won't see, you won't have to deal with, and you can basically just ignore them for the rest of the game. Like,
Would you like to add fist to your black?
But we'll move on to a different subject. Crit and crit force. We'll come back to honors because we'll have to go over to Kaguya to handle honors because we got to go through like purity and shit. So we'll touch on crit and crit force. It's a fairly straightforward topic. So if you go onto the status or the equip menu, you'll see you have a critical down here. Mine's 46 at the moment, and that's basically your percentage of hitting a crit. So if you hit something, for me at the moment I have a 46% chance of hitting a critical, which is a little high. The current meta for this game is to have around 30 crit. So like 28 to 32 is probably where most people have theirs. Some have a little lower, some have a little higher. But critical force is this one here. So you click on status details, it'll be the second one down, so there'll be physical attack speed and then critical force. And that is a damage multiplier. So for me, my crit force at the moment is 287. Most players have between 250 and 300, so I'm pretty much bang in the middle. I normally run higher, but this is sort of a weird build at the moment and just sort of throw it together. So most people have between 250 and 300. I like to stay towards the upper end of that spectrum, and I'll explain why in a second. But everyone starts off this game at a level 3 with a crit force of 170. And basically, if you hit an enemy for 1,000,000 damage flat, right? No, not a critical hit. You can tell the difference between a critical hit and a non-critical hit by the color of the number. It's the easiest way to tell. If it's a grey number, it's not a crit. If it's an orange number, it is a crit. If it's a blue number, then you're hitting them with the wrong element, and obviously if it misses, shit out of luck, sorry, try again. So 170 is the basic. So if you hit a 1,000,000 damage, grey number, non-crit, and then you hit them with a crit, chances are your crit will be a 1.7 mil because it times it by 1.7. If you have 200 crit force, it'll times it by 2, so you'll probably hit 2 mil. 250 crit force, 2.5 mil. 300 crit force, 3 mil. And for a lot of players, it's a lot of newer players, they don't really know about the stat because they don't tend to open up this apart from to look at elements and like slice, pierce and impact. So they just look at this section and probably cooldown cut and movement speed. They don't really look at any of these, which is a bit worrying. Because there's a lot that goes on here. Like in the 4 sections above cooldown cut, there's a lot that goes on. And sometimes when I help people, I'll ask them like what their crit force is, and then they'll say they're critical, and I'll be like, no, crit force, and they'll be like, I don't know what that is, and I'll have to explain, and then explain how to increase your crit force. And we'll talk about increasing your crit force later when we talk about honors, because there is an ornamentation to increase your crit force, which I have on my chocolate and lychee mag. Here, Unblinking Eye, you have a chance to get between 10 and 15 crit force per honor. And again, it's only a chance, it's not guaranteed. I've got probably a couple of mags where I've got Unblinking Eye and no crit force whatsoever. I don't know if I can find any, but it's not guaranteed that you'll get crit force. and it's one of the ways that Cyberstep make their money, because you can pay OC to get items that do remove honors. They are as follows. I'll find them. They are here. So the cancellation whetstones you'll use to remove honors. There are 3 types. The divination is the one that people use to remove honors on a Magatama. That will say easy on it. I think it's easy. And then there's normal and then hard. So
yeah, it's easy, normal, hard.
Yeah, and then
regular divinations are used, then it's universal, then
it's universal, and then defect.
Defect, right.
And but because of your chances of getting the honor you want first go, you probably end up buying quite a few of these. And honestly, it's a good strategy for them to make money from it. Because a lot of people will try and get their mag just right. Especially with mags that take a while to make. Like the Redux mag. This one, Kotonoa Magatama Redux. This is a really good mag. It's the meta mag. The meta at the moment is to run 3 of these and then a support mag. Whether that be a chocolate and lychee, a sparrow, a great dog, whatever. The meta is to run 3 of these because they don't have any negatives. They increase your crit force, increase your defense, increase your attack, increase your skill force, and they give 3 elements each. Each one gives 40 fire, 40 wind, and 40 ice. Not only that, but if you have a grade 100 one, it'll give you 9,100 defense plus the 25% of the physical defense and the magical defense in the stats. So you'll see, just by swapping out my Lucid mag for this, my defense increased by like 8,000. It's just one mag. It's a solid mag, but it takes a long time to make, so people will end up spending money on the universal repair stones, not repair stones, cancellation stones, because it's removal difficulty normal, just to get the honors just right. And 3 of these, that's only 153 chakra. Most people that use these mags are 130, which means they'll have 169 chakra, which means they have 13 chakra to have a support mag and to play around with honors. And if you have a great dog or a sparrow support mag, it means you've got like 10 chakra to mess about with. It's insane. Like, it's a really good mag setup, but it's not the end-all and be-all of mags. Like, they give 3 elements, sure, but 3 of the Magatamas will give you 120 fire, 120 wind, 120 ice, and a bunch of defense, as well as giving you attack and health. And what you're going to do if you have to fight something with lightning in an Oni mode, and like, I can't think of one on the top of my head, but it doesn't matter. Point still stands. If you have to fight something which is weak to lightning, where you can't bring in a vanguard, you're better off having a lightning mag. For example, not that I have this mag, the Lightning Scorched Magatama, or the Magatama Incredible Winds. They both are really good mags, but because they have negatives, they're outshadowed. Not only that, but they do require, like the Redux mag, quite a bit of energy to make, and they are really solid mags. Well, I like how we went back onto mags. We were talking about crit force and skill force, Anyway. Everything comes back to mags now, I think about it. Elements and skill force comes back to mags. Spending stat points, that'll come back to mags, but it's bound to, I'm sure. Starting typing, that'll come back to mags. But I don't know if Vlex wants to take over while I sort something out. But it's... yeah, just that there are a lot of mags that people do forget about because they just go, oh, I need Redux mags to be good at this game. And that's not true. I don't know if either of you have anything to add on to that.
No.
I don't know where Vlex is.
She disappears without a trace.
Need a bloodhound to get her back. So what's something... Alright, talk about something quick and easy. We're going to talk about lunge step swords. And it doesn't matter like what class you are, I'd recommend having a lunge step sword. Like, you could be an axe, an odachi, a wand, a staff, it doesn't matter. It's a really good idea to have a lunge step sword. Just because it makes getting around so much easier. Like, okay, so in the time it'll take me to run from this end to the door, lunge step sword can get there in like a third the time. So, alright, well, we'll have a race. Do you want to be the one using lunge step, or do you want me to do it?
Leave it up to you.
Alright, so I'll lunge step to the door, and you run normally.
Alright.
Ready? Go. He hasn't even loaded in yet. I'm sure that... there you go. It makes getting around so much easier. It doesn't matter... Again, it doesn't matter what mags you have, what weapons you normally use. It doesn't even matter the sword that you pick. As long as it can get you around, that's the important bit about a lunge step sword. It could be anything. It could be a Mephi weapon, it could be a Typhoon weapon, it could be a level 1 weapon that you got out of Daiku Cave. It doesn't matter. As long as it can hold 3 lunge steps and 2 thunder beasts, that's all you need, because that will get you around so much faster than just walking everywhere. And I don't feel like I really need to explain this, but they're faster than most mounts as well. Like, lunge step swords, they're faster than mounts, so even if you have like Brownie, for instance, I'd still recommend getting a lunge step sword. Because Brownie, I don't know if people know, but Brownie has the fastest... Oh, Wheat's invisible. I just see a horse riding itself. Okay, there you go. But Brownie has the fastest movement speed of any mount. It's 85, I believe, which is max. So we'll do it again. You know what? I'll let you have a head start. Just go. Like, even with the fastest mount, lunge step sword still beats it hands down. So the importance of a lunge step sword is... it's non-negotiable. It makes getting around so much faster, and they're really easy to make. Doesn't matter what sword you have. It's in my opinion, it's a must-have. It's like getting better mags as you level up. Like, it's a must-have. What's next? Alright, because I asked someone about this yesterday. I asked someone if they had anything that they wanted me to add into the stream, and they said to talk about how Onigiri was strictly pay to win. Now, I don't believe that it is strictly pay to win. It's very, like, it's the biggest cash cow I've ever played, but it's not strictly pay to win. Now, personally, I'm free to play. I haven't spent any money on the game, and I never can because I have a European account. It won't let me spend money on the game because this is a North American / Japanese server. And pay to win, it is like, it is in the game, it is quite noticeable, but it's not strictly pay to win. Everything that someone, or everything within reason, we'll touch on a few things that free-to-play players can't do, but pretty much everything in the game can be done either with spending money or without. The only difference is how long it takes. Now, a lot of things will take quite a bit longer, just because, as the person I asked yesterday pointed out, you do have to wait for your energy to come back if you don't have energy reses. So if you don't have energy restores, you will have to wait for your energy to come back. It's 6 minutes per 1 point of energy, so an hour would get you 10 energy, so on and so forth. And the only thing I can think of that Vlex actually brought up yesterday that is very strictly pay to win are the Purgatorium dungeons. If you're planning on getting a weapon or a mag out of the Purgatorium dungeons, chances are you'll have to spend money on energy restores. That's just how this game is at the moment. You will have to spend money on it.
Down a car payment to get a Purgatorium weapon, and didn't know that you're gonna need you could have bought a damn car. How much money you have to put in this fucking game? I mean, please spend more money so this game stays around longer.
And there are some things you can do as free to play. For example, get the Purgatorium Ogies. The Ogies, they only require 25 runs to get the Ogies. Like, 25 hell runs, I will specify that it's hell. And each hell run gives you 40 treasures. It requires 60 energy, and you need 1,000 treasures in order to get the Ogie from the item exchange. That is completely doable in the 2 weeks that the game gives you of the Purgatorium dungeon. Completely doable, completely reasonable, not out of the question for a free-to-play player. And I only have one Purgatorium Ogie. It's the Tenryu Flame 7. I'm sure that Wheat and Vlex will love me demonstrating, but I'll show it to anyone who doesn't know what it looks like.
My frames are gonna kill me.
Hold on. We're doing that.
No.
Oh yes, 2.
No.
Oh no, even worse. Even worse.
Oh, you got what are you gonna do? The Gakaho one?
Me, Gakaho. Would I ever really do that?
The Tenryu Flame the Tenryu Flame 7 looks like this. It's a Fire and Holy Ogie, and then I have my effects turned down, so I'll have to turn them back up to show you what the Gakaho 7 looks like.
Yeah, we're the Odachi 7 on this bitch.
There you go. So that's what that one looks like. That one's Wind and Mountain. And they're basically exactly the same as the normal tornadoes that the gargoyles give you, except they're bigger, they are stronger, and they are a much bigger pain in the ass to get. However, if we would like to do the Judgment again, this is the Purgatorium Ogie for Lucifer. I think we've had the Lucifer Purgatorium twice now, and it's I don't have it, so I can't comment on how good it is. I don't know if Wheat wants to give us some.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing really bad to say about it. It's really good holy damage that does multi-hit.
I can play
The only thing I have trouble with it sometimes is hitting certain targets that get too close because of its hitbox.
Oh, that is some. Oh yeah, I don't have. Go on then, Everlasting Gale me. I don't have this one either, Everlasting Gale. It's the Abyss Purgatory Emoji. I didn't get that one, sadly. I do plan on getting it next time Abyss comes back. But, the damage I've seen from Everlasting Gale is nuts. But touching on the Judgment one more time, something that I do remember hearing quite a lot of problems about is do it again. Is that the range isn't as far as the animation, so the range will probably stop about here, but the animation keeps going to about here. It's a bit of a problem. It looks nice, but it's not great at showing just how much you can hit in the range that it says. Whereas with Everlasting Gale or the tornadoes, anything inside this radius will be hit. And unfortunately, unlike on PC, the tornadoes on PlayStation have been nerfed. They don't do as much damage as they did on PC before they shut down the PC servers. And before anyone says, oh, they still have PC servers. No, the PC servers have been shut down. Steam is still open, but the original Onigiri PC server has been shut down. I don't know how many times I've had to explain.
Shut down Steam. Fuck Steam.
I don't know how many times I've had to explain the difference between the Steam server and the official PC server, but it's more than I'd care to admit. So the current servers are NA/JP for PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, and Steam. Nintendo Switch and Steam have crossplay, so if you're playing on a Nintendo Switch, you can play on Steam. You could play with people that are playing on Steam and vice versa. And then there's Onigiri Heroes, which is the mobile game, which I wouldn't recommend anyone plays because it's a hot pile of trash. But if you are going to play this game, then just be warned of everything we've mentioned so far and what's to come, because there is quite a few more things we haven't touched on this list yet. Vlex, you use more classes than I do, so would you mind explaining the start typing and the spending stat points? Vlex? Would you mind?
Sure. But I just noticed something while holding this sword. I'm looking at Wheat's there's a little red glowy effect that goes into the sky.
What?
Never noticed that before. With the...
Oh, that.
Oh, didn't what it was.
It's not really red. It's more pink.
Let me believe in my colors. Also, these Cheetos that I'm eating said that they expired in August. So I decided to grab one and munch on it to see.
Can you confirm that they did in fact expire in August?
Well, it's August of 2022.
Ah.
And, your motherfuckers are pretty chill. I can't taste any Cheeto. Only cardboard and sad.
Pure sadness.
It won't stop me from eating these motherfuckers. Anyway. Put these damn Cheetos down. Who's right? Oh, my hamburger are done. I'll have to speed run this. Okay, everybody pay attention. I'm about to give you a bunch of fucking information within a couple of minutes. No, I ain't doing that. Anyways. So, when it comes to stat lines, they are very fucking needed. Alright. So, if this has his shit open on the proper status screen, or on the my character tab and all that stuff.
Yep.
You'll see that your stats, you have power, vitality, wisdom, mind, and dexterity. If, I'm going to say this, and it's very crucial, I said this in my last video, if you are going to be playing a hybrid class of any kind of sort, so this is any amalgamation, if you're going to play, let's say, Sword Odachi, or Sword Wand, or Sword Staff, or anything like that, do keep in mind that you are going to have to allocate your points thusly. You will see one number to your left and one number to your right, and in the middle you have a little addition symbol. Your number to your left is your base stat number. So this is the stat, and this is where all your status points go into, is your base stat number. To the right of the addition sign, you have what's called your modifier number. Now, your modifier number can be affected by various things, such as the effects that come with a Mogatama or your ornamentations, which I stepped away for a bit, so I don't know if I'll cover that or not. Stat modifiers are probably going to be some of the most crucial things that you're going to run into, because, for instance, my power is 100 plus 35. That means when you add them together, I have overall power of 135. I have a VIT of 47 plus 18. Sometimes this gets modified to be higher. Sometimes it's modified to be lower. It just depends on what I'm running. So for instance, if you're wanting to be sword, you are going to make sure that your power, your dex, and your wisdom are all on good numbers. Power and dex should be at 100, while wisdom is around the 70s, or a little bit lower than that. For mine, you're going to want to make sure, if you're going to be using a staff, that it's at any numerical value that is greater than 75. The reason is that if you plan on using any kind of staff skill, what your mind is set at, plus intervals of 10, will depend on what staff skill you're going to be able to use. So for me, when I use my Sublime skills, which are all rank 8, which those can be touched on maybe in this video, maybe not, I'm going to have to make sure that my mind is 85 plus in order to be able to use the Sublimes accurately. If I want to use a rank 7 staff skill, it's going to have to be 75, rank 6, 65, so on and so forth, going down the line. So if you plan on using nothing more than first aid and nothing more than a rank 6 staff skill, just make sure, and this is my paranoia talking, make sure that you exceed the number of 65 mind in order to be able to use your rank 6 skills and below comfortably. If you don't plan on using staff skills, which I don't know why you wouldn't, because that's one of the smartest things to do, regardless of what DPS class you choose to pick, staff's mainly seen as a support, and a damn good one at that. So if you don't use it, you're doing something wrong. So what I mean to say is, pick yourself up a staff, and you actually have a really good one that you can pick up halfway throughout the story. It's called the Myriad's King staff. I believe it's around level 120. I use it because it gives me a bunch of good shit, and it's imperative that you pick up that motherfucker, because if you don't, you're gonna be, well, looking at a lot of heartache. Just pick up the motherfucking staff. It's easy to use and support. Why wouldn't you do it? It's a smart decision. you're inclined to not do it, but if I fucking hear you bitch about you not being able to heal at the motherfucking boss because you ran out of heal items because you're a retard, I will call you out on being a retard. I think that fucking won't. Fucking do shit. Anyways. So, with sword, odachi, axe, any of the power classes, you include swords, like twin swords, and bow. Well, not really bow. But twin swords, axe, odachi, sword, you want to make sure power and dex are at 100. When it comes to spear, power does not have to be at 100. Dex and vitality do have to be at 100. So I think you're starting, if you've been paying attention, you've been kind of seeing the pattern here. You want to make sure that dex is always at 100. And you're probably wondering, why the fuck do I want dexterity at 100 regardless of what, well, thing I'm playing? It's because stats have a hidden, a fucking another hidden modifier within them, and they won't tell you this. But you have your natural critical. In your natural critical, depending on what level your dex is, you'll get an additional added natural point of crit. So your ornamentations will be a little bit easier for you to get around that 30 plus critical range. And you won't really have to, you know, hurt yourself just to get good dexterity. And it also helps out to have your power go up, because for every interval of like some power that you go, it's been a while since I've fucked around with the status meter, but it will make your HP go up along with vitality. HP is not too important in this game because you'll get to a point where bosses will just 180 spin kick you in the face and you'll lose all your health regardless. Hades, Elios Hades is a very good example of, I don't care what level your health is at, I'm going to get rid of all of it. So do note that some bosses have some bullshit things, like Darkfin likes to push you off the edge of his arena and watch you fall and cascade towards your death. So know that there are some instant kill things. What else can there be explained about stats? So, also associated with your stats, right at the very beginning of the game, you will see things, they'll ask you to pick things like power, daring, cautious, things like that. Always go with daring. That is like the meta pick. So if you're watching this video, obviously you're a dummy when it comes to Onigiri. So just pick daring as your beginning class. It's really easy to get a hold of everything that I'm telling you to do if you just pick daring. And if you're just starting out Onigiri, I would recommend focusing on one class for DPS and staff as your support. Do not branch out yet until you have gotten far more intelligent with the game that exceeds the knowledge of what we'll be giving you here in this video. Because eventually you will find out things that will work for you that will not necessarily work for somebody else's playstyle. So just do what works for you in the beginning. If it gets you a result, if it helps you clear the dungeon, then fucking do it. And now keep in mind that sometimes you're going to have to farm. So if you have an efficient way of farming, great. But if you find that you have to pull out all the stops just to kill the boss once, that means you're not ready to farm that dungeon. That's fine. Go ahead, make friends. Need help with the dungeon? Work on it. If you see me in-game, I haven't said this in a while, but I will help you out with the dungeon. If you're new. If you're not new, then it's probably going to be no, because I ain't got time for that. So, all in all, your stats are pivotal. They are important, and they will make sure, just like your crit force, just like your critical, just like your Magatamas, they will help you pave a way of success. And the reason why you also want your wisdom to be as high as you want it to be is because it gives you natural cooldown. Now, if you open up status details, you'll see something called cooldown cut. Cooldown cut is what will ensure you being able to spam your shit like it's nobody's business. And this helps, right? Because obviously you want to be keeping on using your skills over and over and over again. Your cooldown cut also affects how often your vanguards will be able to use their skills. Your mounts have no cooldown cut, despite that status screen saying that your mount has a cooldown cut. Completely ignore that. I don't know what Cyberstep was doing, leaving that in there. They should have just gotten rid of it. Anyway, maximum cooldown cut is 80. You will know when you hit maximum anything in this game when it comes to your status details, because it'll give you a green little number to let you know you, sir, or ma'am, or non-binary friend, have reached the top. Pretty easy. In this game is very straightforward with its stats. It's just that if you don't know what you're looking at, you're going to miss a lot of important, need to know information, and I'd rather you just not miss out on that. If you ask me, physical attack speed is very pivotal with certain skills. Like with the lunge step sword that they were mentioning earlier, the higher physical attack speed and cooldown cut that you have, the faster your lunge step sword is going to be, and the faster you will get to areas. Because, for say like with Browning, like the example that they were using earlier, if you have a cooldown cut of like 20, and a physical attack speed of like 16, Browning's going to outrun your ass. That's just, you know, how it is. But if you have a good physical attack speed, a good amount of SP, and a good decent amount of cooldown cut, you will actually outrun Browning, who, as they said earlier, is the fastest mount that we've been given. Now, Wisdom in Mind. You want those at good levels as well, because those help out your natural SP meter. You will see above your, well, below your red meter, which is your health, is your SP gauge, your special points, or you want to call it MP for mana, whichever way you want to call it. Your mana points are very essential, because, again, that's what helps you use your skills. You will see beside every single skill that you have a little funny number, like my fear /7 on my Odachi I'm holding says 116. That means it's going to cost me 116 SP in order to use the skill. And I have currently 2026 SP, so you can kind of see that I'm going to be able to use it quite a bit. So you always want to make sure your SP is around the 2000 marker. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit harder to do when you're new, so at least make sure it's around like 1500, 1400, and you'll be able to breeze through the story no problem. Another thing that is very important is your SP recovery and HP recovery, which can be found in the same status details. HP recovery is honestly not that useful, so don't know why I just said it was useful. Ignore the motherfucker. It's not important. SP recovery is important, however, because the higher your SP recovery, the faster your SP comes back naturally. Obviously, there's going to be certain dungeons in this game, like Oni dungeons, that are going to prevent you from using SP recovery. So, yeah. So, as it stands in Pakistan, make sure SP recovery is at least a decent number. 300 works. 350 is solid. I have mine around 441, but I'm also level 132, so take that with a grain of salt. Just make sure it's a decent number. Upgrading your wisdom and your mind will make sure that SP recovery does go up. Now, there is one more stat that you're going to find to be hard-pressed to get, and that's SP reduction. So, as it's stated, SP reduction makes it to where your skills cost less SP to use. And no, I'm sorry to report that no matter how high your SP reduction is, you can never infinitely cast a skill. Meaning, nothing's ever going to have an SP cost of 0. I'm sorry. Cyberstep has made it their mission to ensure that we cannot break the game that way. Oh well. Anyways, that's why stats are important. Also, upgrading your power and your dex, depending on what weapon you're using, will also help to raise their base attack stat. So, as you open up your status menu, you'll see max HP, max SP, attack, physical defense, and magical defense. Physical defense and magical defense, you're going to want them as high as you can possibly get them without, you know, punching yourself in the face of your attack. So your attack, which for me is like 58,667, my power being at the level it is, has a lot to do with that. So if I were to reduce my power right now to 1, I would lose about 3 to 4k. And you probably think 3 to 4k is not that much, but trust me, it matters. And however high your base attack stat is how much damage is going to be added on to whether or not the boss is weak to the skill you're using, how high your elements are, and how high your skill force is. Everything is kind of like, your stats are kind of like your muscles for your body. It's all interconnected. So you want to make sure that your status group of muscles works with your skill force set of muscles, your element force of your, how much element numbers that you have, which you can see when you go into your status details. Like for me, I have 240 ice, head probably has like around 200 fires, or fist has around like 200 fire. So that's the kind of shit that you want. You want to make sure that everything interconnects, everything flows together like water, rather than being rigid and causing friction. That's just being honest with you. Because if not, you're going to have a hard time in this game, especially if you're going to be free to play, or if you're going to be a budget player, like how I was for the longest time. I'm not even a whale, I'm not even a budget player right now. I'm being free to play for the moment. And that's what's important. If you're a budget player, don't try to overextend. Don't overextend your wallet under any means. No Vanguard is worth it. Trust me. So yeah, I mean, that's all I gotta say about status.
Okay. So, while you were talking, I received a private message from someone who is clearly watching this stream saying that you don't need 100 decks for spear, no point in having over 100 decks. Now, I would argue as to otherwise. The only reason some people might not need 100 decks for spear is because the Magatamas that they are already using, or the ornamentations that they have on the Magatamas, already give them crit, or the accessories give them crit, or whatever that case may be.
Right. Which is extremely interesting because they did not pay attention to when I literally just said this is for dummies and it's literally for the beginning. And that's how I want you to do it in the beginning. If you find, again, I will reiterate this point because clearly you missed it. It's for the beginning stages. If you're new to the game, this will make it the easiest method for you. And you're talking about one class, Spear, as opposed to every other class that we're covering. This is a broad range, not just for one motherfucker. It's for specifics. If it was a Spear guide, then yes, I'd be inclined to agree with you. Because a Spear guide is implying that you know what you're doing with Spear, or you're wanting to specifically just play Spear and Staff. But this is a guide, a general guide, for Onigiri for dummies. Right? So obviously, having decks at 100 is going to make it to where they get the highest natural crit as possible, along with having wisdom at a certain level. So that being said, it's just to make it the easiest for the newest player, so they don't just dip, because the game gets a little bit more difficult than what they were wanting. That's it.
I would just like to point out that in my personal opinion, it would be a good idea to experiment. Like the first 100 levels, for example, in Onigiri, just experiment with weapons, see what weapon you like the most, but try and make sure that at least your power and dex are maxed out, just because that will give you HP and crit, and basically afford you that little cushion just in case the weapon isn't doing as much damage, but you still like the feel of the weapon, you still like the skills. You can then buy what I'm looking at right now, which is a status point reset. And I used one of these earlier.
In the story. Yeah, you also get it free in the story at a certain point of Kyoto.
And I used one of these earlier while Vlex was demonstrating what the stats do. Like, I was putting points into dex, showing that it increased critical, putting points into power, showing that it increased my health, so on and so forth. You can buy these for 89 OC, or as Vlex said, you can get one when you get to Kyoto in the story. You'll get one for free. And
you can also buy them in the point exchange within the Onigiri Plaza, or a little cash shop.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's literally like I said. If you have a method that works for you, which I stated already, then it works for you. But that does not mean it's going to work for somebody else. We have a friend who used to play this game named Chaos, And he always wanted his character, even though if his character wasn't even spear-oriented, they wanted their vitality at 100. They wanted their power at 100. They want the highest amount of health as possible. And they were like, I don't understand how y'all can play with no vitality at all. And, okay, but did we correct him? Did we say, no, you can't play that way? No, because that's how he wanted to play the game. Was it the most efficient way? Not at all, it wasn't. But was it the way that worked for him? Yes, sir. So, we let him have it. Because, ultimately, that's his gaming experience. So I'm not going to tell you your way's right. I'm not going to tell you your way's wrong. If it works for you, hell yeah, it works for you.
If, for example, you've gotten far in a game and you have weapons that do have ogies or skills that have iframes, then maybe having a lot of vitality with a sword user isn't the best idea. Having a little bit of vitality just to buff your defense a slight bit is not something that you can really worry about. It's perfectly fine just to have that as like a cushion, but this is again just for beginners, just to help them get used to the game, how they can improve, and obviously once they've become more like acclimatized to the game and how it works, they can experiment without completely losing all hope, because they can always come back to this video or one of Vlex's many specialized videos depending on what weapon they want to use specifically. But for the first 100 levels, I'd recommend just experimenting with weapons, seeing how it goes, seeing which one suits you the best, and even if it comes down to which one you think looks cooler or which one has cooler skills, you can still, even if that's the only reason for liking that weapon, that's fine. You can use that weapon just because it's got cool skills, or just because you like this one version of the weapon. For example, one of my favorite looking weapons is the scythe axe that you get really low level in the story. It's really low level, it's an axe, it looks like a scythe. I think you get it in Kyoto. It's like a level 50 weapon. It looks so nice, and I really wanted them to add a scythe class because I would use it, but they never did. It was just a variant of an axe. And a lot of people have started to use axe because they really like the scythe. Well, a lot of people, when I came back to the game in like 2018, early 2018, they had the axe and they were like, I really like this axe, I'm going to use axe, just because of how it looked. And there's a lot of people that do that. I had another friend who really liked the look of the Falling Star Spear, and then they became a spear user. And unfortunately, they don't play anymore. They had to sell their PS4. I don't know why. But
also to add a little tidbit of a point, it's taking a few steps back, but it just kind of ties in with what you're saying. And ultimately, I would go to Oro for spear guides, because I don't know if he's made an updated one or not. I know I haven't. The last one I made was with my friend Archie, and that was like years ago. But since Oro is mainly a spear main and that's all he uses, I would go to one of Oro's videos on how do you learn spear, if spear is the thing you want. If you like Odachi, then you can go to one of my Odachi's videos, or you don't have to. I mean, it's all up to you how you ultimately want to play this game. I mean, that's what makes Onigiri fun. You have the ability, you have the authority to customize your character, I guess with reason of how Cyberstep has it, how you want. I mean, fuck, I mean, I still have a ton of weapons that are poo-poo if you were to bring them into a burger dungeon. But I like them, I still use them because they look cool. You know, that's my only justification.
I mean,
like the Galargies.
I have a weapon that I'm in the middle of making, and the only reason I'm making it is because it looks cool. Oh, my game crashed.